It was around 6:30 p.m. when I finally arrived at the familiar old two-story house, a place that had been in my family for 4 generations. After a productive day working on the farm, I felt accomplished and ready for a relaxing evening with my wife, Terry. I had spent the day in the fields, and although it was tough work, the satisfaction and rewards more than made up for it. Plus, I had the best wife anyone could hope for. Terry was amazing, always warm, kind, and loving. Sure, she had her moments, like all of us do, and sometimes she could be a little too trusting or a bit silly, but she was my partner, my foundation. I wouldn't trade her for anything. When I stepped into the house, I immediately caught the mouth-watering aroma of fresh meatloaf. Terry loved to cook, and she had a knack for making even the simplest meals taste incredible. As I glanced at the mail on the small table by the door, most of it was junk, advertisements and letters for tenants. But there were a couple of envelopes addressed to us, the usual monthly bills. I walked into the kitchen just in time to see Terry pulling the meatloaf from the oven. Eager to help, I hurried over, and she thanked me as I placed the dish on the table. I went upstairs to wash my face, and when I returned, dinner was set and waiting for us. "Smells delicious, honey," I commented as I sat down. "It's nothing special," she replied with a smile. "Just meatloaf. I added some chili peppers and mushrooms, though. Hope you like it." "I'm sure I will," I said, grinning back. She served me a portion, then added mashed potatoes and mushroom gravy to the plate. I smiled again, feeling grateful. She knew exactly how to win me over. After taking a seat, she served herself, and I asked, "So, how was your days?" Terry nodded as she took a bite of her food. "Good. I finally sold the Jennings old house." Terry had started working at a real estate agency in town about 10 years ago. After our twins were old enough to walk to and from the bus stop, she wanted to help contribute to the family. Now, both the kids were grown. Dan, our son, had been accepted into the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, and Lisa, our daughter, was studying to become a veterinarian at Washington University. With Terry's job and the farm's income, we lived comfortably. Our goal was to retire at 60 and take a long cruise, maybe to the Caribbean, but we hadn't decided yet. I glanced at Terry. So far, our life together had been wonderful, but in recent months, I had noticed a shift. She had seemed a bit more distant and moody, and tonight, she seemed more withdrawn than usual. "Are you okay, honey?" I asked, concerned. "You seem a bit off." She sighed softly, looking down. "I think we need to talk after dinner." "Okay," I said, intrigued. "Maybe we can go out on the back porch after we eat. We could smoke and have a drink like we usually do." "Sound good." She nodded, and we finished our meal. I helped clean up, then grabbed a beer for myself and poured her a glass of wine. We stepped outside, and I offered her a cigarette, which she took without hesitation. After lighting it, I sank into the porch swing, while she sat in the chair beside me. "So, what's on your mind?" I asked, sensing that something was bothering her. "Bill, please promise me you'll let me finish everything before you say anything," she said, her voice shaky. "I'm really torn, and I'm scared you'll hate me after I'm done. Promise me you won't be angry," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Oh, listen, I'm not going to get mad," I assured her. "You know that I love you more than anything, right?" she asked, her eyes searching mine. I could feel a knot forming in my stomach, but I nodded and encouraged her to keep talking. "Of course," I replied. "You've been by my side all these years, living on this farm with me for 2 decades. That has to mean something, right?" I tried to lighten the mood with a little joke. She gave a small smile, but it quickly faded, and a sense of unease filled the air. "You're the only man I've ever been with," she said softly. "And you're the only woman I've ever been with," I responded, trying to stay calm. "What's going on? You're starting to worry me." She paused, then took a deep breath. "I guess I should just be upfront," she said. "I've been thinking about finding a lover before I get too old. In 2 years, we'll both be 40, and I want to know what it would be like to experience another man. I froze for a moment, stunned by her words. Wait, what? I asked, struggling to comprehend. You mean you want to sleep with another man and you want me to just accept it? She nodded slowly. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. It won't change anything between us. I'll still love you just as much as I always have. This isn't about you. It's just something I've wanted to experience at least once in my life before. Her voice trailed off. I tried to wrap my head around it, my thoughts racing. Is it because I'm not enough for you? I asked. Maybe I'm doing something wrong? No, Bill, she replied quickly. You're a wonderful lover. It's just that I've never had anything to compare it to. It's like driving the same old truck your whole life, and then getting the chance to try something different like a sports car. It's not about you. It's about me wanting to experience something new. Her analogy hit me like a ton of bricks. I didn't like it. I don't really like that comparison, I told her. For the record, I think it's already changed our relationship. I didn't mean it like that, she said, sounding a little defensive. Please don't misunderstand me. So you've already done this, right? I asked, my voice shaking with a mix of disbelief and anger. No, I haven't, she responded quickly. Have you picked who you want to do it with? I asked, my stomach sinking. No, not at all, she replied. I haven't made any decisions. It's just something I've been seriously thinking about lately. Who put this idea in your head? I asked, struggling to keep my emotions in check. I wanted to punch a hole in the wall, but I knew that wouldn't help. I needed to understand more and make Terry see reason. Well, Marie Cunningham, you know her, right? She said. She works with me at the office. We go out for lunch sometimes. She told me that it's something I need to do, to take control of myself. And she said if you truly loved me, you'd let me do this. That's why I wanted to talk to you. It wouldn't be cheating if you gave me permission first. Marie Cunningham, the brunette, about 5'0", dresses like she's still in high school. I asked, stunned. That's her, Terry confirmed. Do you know her? I've met her a few times at your office, I said, my frustration growing. I wouldn't say I know her well, though. I've heard things, like how she's been divorced twice in the past 6 years, and is now working on a third divorce. From what I've gathered, her husband is about to file for divorce too. I didn't know all that, Terry said, surprised. I know she's been through at least one divorce, I pressed, and there's talk around Cartwheel that she's had a lot of male friends. People have noticed. I think her husband's getting ready to leave her. Terry seemed taken aback. I could tell she wasn't fully aware of all that. I decided to change my approach. I needed to get her to see how serious this was. Tell me, honey, I said, how long have we known each other? I don't know, she replied. About 30 years, maybe a little more. And we've been together since high school, right? I asked. Yeah, something like that, she said. In all that time, have you ever known me as the kind of guy who'd agree to something like this? I asked, my voice steady. She shook her head slowly. Well, no, not really, she admitted. So what makes you think I'd agree to this now, after everything we've been through? I asked, my frustration bubbling up. I was about to ask again when Terry began. Well, Marie says... I interrupted. Forget about Marie. Marie's a fool. I want to hear your thoughts, not hers. I took a deep breath and continued. Let me put it to you like this. What would you do if I came home one day and said, honey, you know I love you, but I really need to sleep with another woman to prove something to myself? How would you feel about that? Her eyes widened in surprise. Oh, no, she said firmly. I'd leave you. Exactly, I replied. So, why should it be any different now? She stared at me, clearly shocked. Oh my God, she said quietly. I never thought of it that way. Do you remember my grandparents? I asked. She nodded. Of course. They passed away in 2001, right after their 80th wedding anniversary. They were over 100 by then, and pretty well known in the neighborhood. That's right, I said. In 1999, the family threw them the best anniversary party ever. It was at the nursing home, remember? Yes, I remember, she said, smiling at the memory. That was a special day. I know we've talked about it before, but let me remind you of something, I said. Do you remember their 80th anniversary party? We had a conversation about marriage then, remember? She nodded again. I remember, she said, still smiling. I asked Grandpa what the secret to their long marriage was. I told her, my tone serious. He told me a story I'll never forget. When they first got married, people around here were still using horses and baby carriages to get around. It was 1919, just after World War I. Grandpa said that after their wedding, he put Grandma in the baby carriage, and they set off from the church. A few miles down the road, the horse collapsed. That's one, Grandpa had said. Then they went a little further, and the horse fell again. That's two, Grandpa had said. They kept going. And just when they were near the house, the horse fell again. That's three, Grandpa said. So what did he do? Terry asked, intrigued. Grandpa got out of the carriage, went to the trunk, grabbed his shotgun, and shot the horse dead. I said, pointing toward the driveway. Right over there. Terry's eyes widened in disbelief. Oh, my God! And Grandma wasn't too pleased, I said. She let him have it. Angry words, hatred, the whole thing. Grandpa just smiled and said, that's one. I never saw them fight, I added, reflecting. Not once in all the years I knew them. Terry looked at me, her eyes wide. You have 2 strikes against you now, I said, my voice firm. The first is for listening to that idiot Marie. The second is for thinking you could get away with this ridiculous idea of yours, even if you haven't actually done it yet. She looked scared. You mean you'd really leave me? She asked, her voice trembling. No, I replied, my voice steady but filled with a touch of sarcasm. But it sure is tempting. The truth is, I still love you, even with all the foolishness you sometimes bring into our lives. I've invested so many years with you. But you think I'm an idiot, don't you? Her voice was small, almost offensive. Do you think I'm stupid? She asked quietly. Sometimes, yes, I said, my tone blunt but not unkind. Do you remember that time with the sandwich? I asked, breaking the silence. Terry's eyes sparkled with recognition. Oh, that one, she said with a laugh. I remember. I used to look forward to your lunches, but one day, you made me a sandwich, I continued. Only, when I opened it up, there was nothing inside, just 2 plain slices of bread. I was confused. I had never had a sandwich like that before. She grinned, embarrassed. I swear I put bologna and cheese in it, but it was just a mistake. You told me about it when you got home, and I felt so silly. I chuckled. I didn't mind. I told you. It was great, but I didn't know I liked jam sandwiches. You're never going to forget that, are you? She asked, her smile still lingering. Nope, I replied with a laugh. I won't. After a moment, she asked, so what now? I sighed. That's up to you. You're a smart woman, Terry. You raised 2 great kids, and I know you'll figure this out. I've never told you what to do, and I'm not going to start now. But know this. There are lines that won't be crossed. I won't tolerate disrespect. If we're in the bottom of the 9th with 2 strikes, what happens next is on you. She nodded, quietly taking in my words. I need to get up early tomorrow to work the North 40, I added. So I'm heading to bed now. I snuffed out my cigarette and went upstairs, leaving her to think. 3 months later, I had just stopped the combine for lunch. I climbed out, eager to enjoy a meal in the comfort of my truck's air conditioning. But when I reached for my lunch bag, I realized I'd left it at home. Frustrated, I glanced in the rearview mirror. A cloud of dust appeared on the horizon, and as it drew closer, I recognized the familiar shape of Terry's SUV. It slowed down and stopped next to my truck. She hopped out with a confident smile, wearing those jeans that still made my heart skip a beat. "You left your lunch behind," she said, walking toward me. "So I thought I'd bring it to you." "Thanks," I said, grinning. I was just about to head back for it. "Mind if I join you for lunch?" she asked with a playful tone. "Not at all," I replied. She opened the side door of her SUV, and we climbed into the back seat, where she'd prepared a picnic lunch. As we ate, I reflected on the past 3 months. After our conversation, Terry had told Marie to keep her ideas to herself. Shortly afterward, Marie's marriage fell apart. Her husband caught her in compromising situations with one of her many boyfriends. Divorce papers were filed almost immediately. The day after our talk, Terry apologized. First, she offered me heartfelt words, then wrapped me in warm hugs and kisses. That night, she made up for everything with an impressive dinner and an unforgettable evening that was a true testament to our love. Some people might say I should have taught her a lesson, punished her for even entertaining the thought, but I couldn't bring myself to do that. We'd built a life together for over 2 decades. I couldn't throw that away over a momentary lapse. And honestly, I didn't care what anyone else thought. My love for her was unwavering. Terry worked in real estate for a while, selling several properties and earning good commissions. After reviewing our finances, she realized we had enough to retire comfortably if we chose. So, she decided to quit her job and become a full-time homemaker. Sometimes. She even spent the day with me in the fields, and I couldn't deny how much I enjoyed having her by my side. After we finished lunch, Terry pulled out a jar of whipped cream. "This is for dessert," she said with a sly grin. I glanced at the basket. "I don't see anything for dessert," I replied. Without saying a word, Terry slipped off her shirt, revealing her chest. Then, she slowly slid down her shorts. As she leaned back, our connection deepened, and we made love in that quiet, intimate moment. "You're incredible," I said, smiling. "I always knew you were the best cook, but now you're just top-notch." "Pass me the whipped cream,"